Firstly, and most importantly, I'd like to begin today's webinar with an acknowledgement of country. I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of all the different lands on which we meet today. I personally would like to acknowledge the Darug people, as they are the traditional custodians of the land on which I am on today. My name is Luke Medic, and I'm Senior Policy Officer at the Combined Pensioners and Superannuants Association. CPSA is a non-profit, non-party political membership association which serves pensioners of all ages, superannuants, and low-income retirees. Our aim at CPSA is to improve the standard of living and well-being of our members and constituents. We do this by addressing issues such as aged care, pensions, superannuation, housing, and of course, energy. So that brings me to today's topic for today's webinar, which is the energy market. So the energy market is one that is typically complex and misunderstood by many Australians. A result of this complexity and misunderstanding leads to people paying more for their energy than they should be, and people changing their lifestyles in unhealthy ways to reduce their energy usage and in turn their energy costs. The person whose research has taught me this and a whole lot more is none other than our special guest, who you'll see on the screen, Caroline Porto Valente. Welcome, Caroline. Caroline is a PhD candidate at the University of Technology, Sydney. Caroline is in a final year of a PhD research, and her research is focusing on energy poverty and the impacts energy poverty has on older, low-income households. During today's session, I'll be having a conversation with Caroline about all things energy. I'll be asking her some questions throughout her presentation. Caroline has kindly allowed us to share the slides to her presentation, which you'll receive after today's session. That'll be either later today or maybe even tomorrow. And today's session will also be recorded and uploaded to YouTube, so you can give it another watch at a later date if you'd like. So I'd encourage you to listen and engage with the content rather than furiously note-taking. So I'll hand over to Caroline now.
All right. I'll share my screen now. Okay. So, hi everyone. Hi Luke. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's actually a pleasure to be here and be able to share a little bit of my knowledge. And I would also like to extend my gratitude for all the participants who are attending this session. I hope you can take the most out of it and that you can actually find it very useful to help with your energy bills. So as Luke said, I am a PhD candidate at UTS, and my research on the causes, extent, the impacts, and the potential solutions to energy poverty among older low-income households actually helped me to understand some of the issues with why is it so difficult and to actually understand what is energy poverty and what are the difficulties that older low-income pensioners face when they're trying to deal with their energy bills. And during the last year, what I've done is I've done many interviews with those older low-income households on the causes of energy poverty. And some of the causes are related, for example, to the lack of suitable deals and the communication strategies for older people in low incomes. So many of them, for example, would tell me, oh, Caroline, just because there's no face-to-face contact anymore, I actually find it very difficult to try and engage through the phone, or I don't have a computer at home. I don't have a good access to internet where I can just shop around as many other people do. So it's actually very hard for me. And even some strange situations like a person that didn't have a computer at home, didn't have an email, and her retailer wanted to charge her for receiving her paper bills, which is absolutely outrageous. One other thing, another cause of energy poverty among low-income older Australians is the lack of energy literacy. And what do I say about literacy? It's actually being able to, when you have the knowledge and the ability to make informed and rational decisions about your energy matters, whether is it related to how you're going to use your energy at home or how you're going to pay your bills, how much you're paying for your bills. So many of the interviewees that I had, they didn't know which appliances used more energy at home, or they would be in the situation of keeping things forever. So many of them would say, oh, Caroline, I have a 30-year-old microwave that's still functional, so I use it every day. But she wouldn't realize how much this would be consuming energy at her home. or maybe they would be unaware of all the rebates and concessions that are available to this group and that they are eligible to apply for them. Or in other cases, and I think this one is actually for all Australian households, it's very confusing to compare and choose good energy plans and rates. Because as one interviewee said, the Australian energy market is nowadays a confusopoly. So it's almost like they make it intentionally difficult and confusing for you to make a good deal and to make a good choice. So, oops.
Right,
So yep.
Caroline, so if I could just jump in there.
Sure.
So we've looked at the causes of energy poverty, but maybe if you could just define what energy poverty is.
Oh yeah, sure. So energy poverty might be a situation in which, for example, whether you are struggling to pay your energy bills, or if you think you're spending too much of your income on energy costs, or if you are actually reducing your energy use at home to keep your energy bills manageable, but you're doing that to the detriment of your health. So it might be the case that you are avoiding to use the heater or the air conditioner because you know you cannot afford them, and you actually feel the health effects of it. Yeah.
Okay, and so you interviewed some pensioners who were in energy poverty, and this is sort of informed part of your research?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, great.
All right. So the idea with this webinar is actually to increase energy literacy and to facilitate the understanding of the energy bills to improve how pensioners and superannuants can engage with the energy market for better offers and also for fair energy costs. So Luke and I have spoken in the backstage, and we have agreed in this 5-step plan, which we are going to follow in these topics, which are related to how for you to check your charges and understand the charges, how to make sure you are on a good and fair deal, if you are receiving the rebates you are eligible to, and where to check all these rebates, how to use energy efficiently and safely, and for you to find a convenient way to pay the bills that suits your budget. So first of all, how to check your charges? Well, to check your charges, we need to understand them, right? So I suggest you, if you have an energy bill available, that you keep an eye on it at the moment. It will be very helpful during this webinar. And what some of the interviewees have said to me is that they would say, when I ask them, oh, how do you track or how do you monitor your energy use? And they would say, oh, actually, I just go into the first page of the bill. I know how much I have to pay. I know when is the due date, and that's it. And then I would say, don't you go check how much they are charging you for your supply charge or your usage charge? And they would say, no, I never checked that. I don't even know where to find it. So usually it will be in the 3rd page of your bill, where you have all the descriptions on the electricity usage, or the same goes for the gas, that will have the supply charges and the usage charges. And what's the difference between them? Well, the usage charge is the amount you are being charged per unit of gas or electricity that you use. It will be, for example, in cents per kilowatt hour in case of electricity, or cents per megajoule in case for gas. And the bill is made up of the amount of energy that you consume. Say, for example, if you consume 5 kilowatt hours per day, multiplied by the price per unit. Say, for example, if it's 20 cents a day, then your usage charge this day is going to be $1. But this usage charge can vary, as we'll see along the slides. The other type of charge is the supply charge, which is the amount that you're being charged every day just to have your house connected to the electricity grid. So it's also called a service charge or a fixed charge, and it will be a daily rate regardless of how much energy you use or not. For example, if you have, oh, I went on holiday, I didn't even use energy at all, but I still was charged for that. Yes, that's your daily supply charge. And to give you an example, I bring you my own electricity bill. So Here's a screenshot of my electricity bill. You will see what plan I am in, what's the total usage for the quarter. So I consumed 463 kilowatt hours in a 96-day period, which is around 4.82 kilowatt hours per day. And in here, you can see how much the energy retailer is charging me per kilowatt hour, as I said, the usage charge, and how much the energy retailer is charging me for the supply charge. So for the 96 days, every day he charged me around 85 cents. And that's not accounting for the discounts that I have, because I went online and I chose a deal that was suitable for me. And we'll teach you how to do it as well. So I calculated here in my bill, and my supply charge is almost 40% of my total bill. And this could be your case too. So I live with my partner, so it's actually considered a low usage, a low consumption during the day. And if you live by yourself, or if you live with your partner, so there are no children anymore, it's not a big family home anymore, it might be the case that your supply charge is a large proportion of your bill. And that's why it's important for you to understand the difference and how to choose a plan that suits the amount of energy that you use.
Yeah, for sure. Because if you have someone, if your energy retailer is charging a large supply charge, the reduction in consumption won't have a big impact on your bill, then, will it?
Exactly. And I do have an example here. So for example, this one I got from the website, the Origin website.
Okay.
So if you go online in the Origin website, they will have 3 different plans. So they will have the basic plan, the standard market offer, where they have the 86 cents a day. They will have this one on variable rates on 12 months, where you need to renew. And then this other one on fixed rates for 12 months and some other bonus included. And can you see the difference between the 70 cents and the 86 cents per day? Just because it's a different plan in the same retailer. And you might think that, oh, Caroline, it's just 15 cents difference. That's not a lot. But I did the calculation. If you put this in 1 year, it's $55 just because you are in a different plan. And the same goes for the usage charge. So you will see that here in this standard market offer, you will have around 30 cents per kilowatt hour. And in this one, the good deal, we would have around 24 cents per kilowatt hour. And if we sum up in the same website, we have an estimated cost. So you could either be paying around $1,400 a year or $1,100 a year. So it's a difference of $300 regardless of how much energy you use. It's just related to the electricity charge, the usage and the supply charge, in the amount that is being charged from your retailer.
And there's no sort of, there's not higher quality energy, right? You're paying more for the exact same thing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
It's the same, exactly same thing.
Mm.
And another important difference that we have is between the type of electricity tariffs. So we might have, as you saw in the case of my bill, a single rate tariff where households are charged the same rates of power regardless of the time of the day they use it. So it doesn't matter if it's 2 p.m. or whether it's 11 p.m. It's the same charge that I'm being charged for the energy that I use. Or you can have a time of use tariff where the customers are charged different rates depending on the time of the day that they consume energy. And what's the idea with that? It's because we have differences in the demand and the supply of energy throughout the day with the other residential households and the industry and during the seasons as well. So what they want to do is they want to give you a benefit for you to use energy during the off-peak or shoulder periods, and they want to punish you, in air quotes, if you are using energy during the peak periods or the periods of high demand of energy. And oops, here. And here I give you an example of a bill from a household that has time of use tariffs. So you will see here that we have the amount of units used during the peak period, the amount of units used during the off-peak and the shoulder periods, and how they change throughout the day. But what I want to highlight here is the difference in the charge. So you will see that during the off-peak and the shoulder period, it's around 15 cents to 22 cents. So it's quite similar to the single rate tariff, sometimes a little bit lower, but for the peak charge, it's actually a lot. So you need to, if you want to choose a time of use tariff, you actually need to make sure that it suits your household and your lifestyle. So if you're home most of the time, or if you use lots of power during the afternoon or the early evening, then this might be not a good deal for you. It's better for you to just stay with a single rate tariff where you won't need to worry about what time of the day that you use the power. And the other thing that it's important to know is that if you want to have a time of use tariff, you need to have a smart meter installed at your property.
Okay. I've had a couple of people call me about smart meters. Should people be concerned about smart meters, or is this potentially a tool that can be used to reduce your costs with energy, or should people stick with the old traditional meters?
I would say that, I mean, for smart meters, you can still use to have a single rate tariff.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you can still you can still choose to not have a time of use tariff if you have a smart meter. But I will say that it really depends. So I have heard some people say that the smart meters have health risks because of the infrared and some stuff, but I honestly, I don't think, I don't know if there's enough evidence about it yet. So I would say that mostly if you have a smart meter at home, or if you are considering to have a smart meter at home, it's actually more important for you to know whether this suits your lifestyle. Yes.
Okay, fair enough. And I just noticed, Caroline, that we have a question from Subhash.
Okay.
And I think it relates to a couple of slides earlier.
All right.
They ask, how do you know which to choose when they show 3 different rates? So I think we're referring to the origin.
This one here, yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, for example, if you have this, for this origin one, this example, if you see here that all of the, for this one, the origin goal, all the charges are lower here, and there's no difference, I would say go with this one. This one would be the better one, yeah. But there will be some cases, for example, when you will have this potential example here, where you have a 70 cents day on supply charge, and this one is 86, but for the usage charge, it might be that it's the reverse. So it's 29 cents here and 24 cents here. And what's important to know is, again, whether you, what's the proportion between your usage and your supply charge in your account. So for example, in this case, for me, that I have a low consumption, it's actually more important for me that I have a lower supply charge than a lower usage charge. But if I were in a family of maybe 5 or 6 people in the same household, potentially it would be more important that I had a lower usage charge.
Okay. Yeah, I think people with higher usage charges may have seen during COVID, when in the lockdowns and everything, maybe they would have seen greater increases in their energy bills because they're using more energy.
Yes.
Whereas people with lower usage charges and higher supply charges might not have felt the risks as much. So
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Quite
Yeah.
interesting.
So
Thanks for answering
continuing.
that. Hopefully we answered Savash's question there.
Yeah. I mean, if you still have a question, feel free to, we can address it later. Yeah. The other type of electricity tariff is a controlled load, which is a tariff that is dedicated to those large, high energy usage appliances that are metered separately to the rest of the property. So it could be, for example, a hot water system. It could be pool filter, a pool heat pump, or something like that. And with the controlled load tariffs, it's important to know that the electricity will only be supplied to that specific appliance for a limited number of hours each day. And this depends on your electricity distributor, but it might be around 8 to 18 hours each day at the non-peak energy demand periods. So that's what I would say, that it's quite uncommon for you to see a fridge on controlled load, because we need the fridge to be on 24 hours a day. But if it's a hot water system, then yeah, it might be a very good idea. And in here we have this, the illustrative table where, for example, I have a usage rate of 27 cents per kilowatt hour, but I do have two options of controlled load tariffs. Controlled load type 1 on 10 cents per kilowatt hour, and the type 2 on around 13 cents. And what's the difference? It's actually because of the amount of hours when the electricity is going to be supplied. So for the controlled load 1, where you're paying just 10 cents per kilowatt hour, it will be the case that the electricity will be supplied to that appliance only for 8 hours, for example. But for the controlled load type 2, which is more flexible, you are paying a little bit more, but the electricity is going to be supplied for longer hours, say 15, 17, 18 hours a day. And here's the difference when you can actually have an appliance, maybe a hot water system connected to the controlled load tariff. You could be saving around $60 again, regardless of how much you use, just because it's a different type of tariff. And here is an electricity bill, an example of a household that has a controlled load usage tariff. So this one is the controlled load type 2, where you can see that you have separate meters with separate readings and different charges. So you will have a general usage, which will be for the most part of the property, where you have a 28 cents standard market charge, and you will have a controlled load with that specific appliance. Maybe it's a hot water system, maybe it's a heat pump, and you will be paying a lot less for that. Any questions so far?
None from me, and we've answered Subhash's question.
Okay.
So thank you. So that's great.
All right.
I think we're good to keep moving on.
Yeah. So now that we have understood all the different tariffs that are out there, then it's important for you to know whether you are getting a good deal or not. And if you're not, how to get a better deal. So I would say the rule of thumb is, if you have been with the same provider for a long time and have not contacted them to update your offer or negotiate your energy plan, I'm really sorry to say, but the chances are you are paying too much. So with many of the interviewees that I had, many of them would say, oh, Caroline, I've been loyal to this retailer for over 20 years, and I think I'm being valued for that. So when they would share their bills with me, and I would say, oh no, you're paying 30% more on your bill just because you're not on a good plan, not your good energy plan. So one thing that I suggest you to do is start discussing about it and comparing your rates with neighbors, friends, family. I know it's not always easy to talk about money and bills, but it's actually very important that we start talking about it for us to build this knowledge around the energy market. So maybe if you have children, just call your children and say, hey, who's your energy retailer? How much you're paying for your usage charge or your supply charge, for you to compare if you are paying too much or not. Or you can also.
Oh, sorry. I was saying, Caroline, I think you touch on a really important point there, where people think that loyalty is still rewarded, and that's just very much not the case in the energy market. I think people actually refer to them as loyalty penalties. So rather than being rewarded for staying with the same person, you actually penalized for not opting to negotiate or for finding another deal. It's frustrating that the onus is on the customer to look for that deal. But that's how the energy market seems to be right now.
Exactly, especially because we're now living in this liberalized market with with billions of offers and to make us confused. Yes, and as you said, like it's almost like we're being punished for being loyal. Yeah. And so the one thing that I would suggest is if you have a look on your bill, you will have the contact number of your energy retailer. So feel free to call your retailer or go online to check the current offers. So for example, you could, with Energy Australia, say, just like I show the example with Origin, you could go, if you're with Energy Australia, you could go into Energy Australia and compare the 3 types of plan that they have here and how much you're paying on your bill. And then you can say, oh yeah, I think this one is actually, maybe this one is more suitable for me. You see?
And for people who, after today's webinar, if they want to go and call their energy provider to get a better deal, you know, what would you need in front of you? Is it just, you know, your bill and a negotiation hat and that's it? Is that pretty much all you need to start?
Yeah, I would say that the first thing that you need is to know your own charges. So that so have your bill with you, and then when you call to your supplier, your retailer, then you say, hey, I'm paying this much, and the customer service person will actually know from your account how much you're paying. So they will be able to suggest a better deal for you. But it's good that we keep everything like in pen and we get notes on that so that we know how much, whether the plan is going to change or not, when is it going to change, so that you keep track of that. Yeah. Let's see. And depending on where you live, so for example, if you live in a very remote area where you only have one energy retailer available, it might be the case that this one energy retailer has different offers, as I just showed you for Origin and for Energy Australia. But if you live in a big city or a capital, it might be the case that not only you have many offers from your own retailer, but you also have many other retailers to choose from. And it can be quite confusing because you will need to know how and when you use energy, but some websites are there to help. So you can use these websites to compare different offers from different retailers. And if you find it too confusing, you can also go to an NSW service office and ask them to help you for switching your energy provider. So last year I had an interviewee that had a very good experience with going to the NSW service with his energy bill, and he just went there and said, hey, I'm having trouble with my energy provider. I think I'm paying too much. Can you help me switching my retailer and getting a better deal? And the person was happy to help him with that, and he was very happy with the result. Yeah.
No, yeah. So stop into your Service New South Wales store if you're looking for a better energy deal and you don't really have access to electronic bills and that sort of thing. So a lot of with the switch tools. So New South Wales also runs a switch service where if you have an electronic bill, it'll sort through all of the offers and can switch for you. Like the machine will do it for you. But if you go into an in-person Service New South Wales store, yeah, like you said, someone can help you get a better deal there too.
Yeah. And especially like I know for people that might have problem with internet access or are not very confident with or comfortable using the computer, just go to an NSW office and have that help for you. Yeah. The other point that we have is in regards to whether you are receiving the rebates you are eligible to, and now we'll pass it on to Luke to talk about it a little bit. So I'll stop sharing.
I wanted to just show everyone a link. So I'm sharing my screen now. So this is on the Service Australia website, and they have all of the concessions and healthcare cards you may be eligible for. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, and we'll provide this link in the slides later as well, you'll come up to other support, and this will show you for every state and territory in the country, any sort of concessions that you may be eligible for. So if you click on one of these links, like the New South Wales link, it'll take you up to this different page, and then you can select cost of living rebates, and it takes you through any sort of concession you may be eligible for. And here's Queensland's version as well. And that's on offer for every single state and territory. So just because we don't know where everyone's coming from today, this is really good one-stop sort of shop for anyone in the country. You can have a look and see if they're missing out on something they may be eligible for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, and just as Luke said, this presentation is going to be shared with you later today. So you actually have access to all these links and websites, and you can go through them and know a bit more and engage. Yeah. So now that we have spoken about all the types of charges, how to choose a good deal, and which rebates and concessions you might be eligible to, then it's now important to talk about how to use the energy efficiently and safely. So during my interviews, I would ask the interviewees how they would cope with energy poverty and how they would cope with the high energy costs. So many of the strategies adopted to reduce their energy consumption were quite common and considered like energy conscious, for example. So they would say, oh, I only boil the exact amount of water in the kettle that I need for a cup of tea so that I don't have the kettle working for too long. Or I switch off everything off the plug when I go to sleep. Very good as well. But some extreme habits also happen when you are in a very unaffordable energy cost. It might be the case, for example, some interviews would shower less or cook less to save on gas costs, or instead of using artificial lighting, they would go back to candlelight, or instead of using a washing machine, they would hand wash their clothes. And when I asked them about the impact of energy poverty in their everyday routine and well-being, I could actually hear how difficult it was for them to cope with the unbearable temperatures and the need to escape the home. So many of them would say, oh, when it gets too hot at home, I just can't stand it. So I go to the shopping mall, I go to the community center because I cannot afford to have an air conditioner at home. Or they would talk about the difficulties in making ends meet with a very tight budget. So many of them would actually have that dilemma of heating or eating, or cooling or eating, because they would live mainly on the pension and it would be too low for them, very limited income and a lot of stress and anxiety around that. So one important thing is how to use energy efficiently and safely. So I bring you this graph where you can see for the average Australian household, how much energy is consumed by different systems. So we know here, for example, that 38% of our energy is used for heating and cooling purposes. Around a quarter is used for water heating. 16% of our energy every day for other appliances such as TV, washing machine, dishwasher, etc. 7% for fridges and freezers, 7% for lighting, 4% for cooking, and 3% for standby power. So, and why do I tell you that? Because, for example, that same person that told me that she would not use her artificial lighting and she would only use candlelight at night, which was, she was trying to reduce her energy consumption on lighting, which was only 7%. She was the same one that had a 30-year-old microwave that she would use every day. And she had no idea that this could be a much larger proportion of her energy bill. So in here, you can actually find the energy efficiency, the star rating of your appliances. So it's very important that you know which appliance it might be using more energy and whether you can upgrade those appliances, whether you have the capital, whether you can afford to upgrade. And the NSW government has some rebates and discounts for you to upgrade your fridge or your TV, for example. They offer, I guess it's between 40% and 50% rebates to upgrade those appliances.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, it's 40% off if you have a fridge that's 10 years old or more. If you get 40% off a new fridge, and then it's 50% off a new television if you have an older plasma and that sort of thing. But that actually does run out. That will end 30 June this year. So you need to get your application in by the 14th of May if you would like to take part in that scheme. So we will, don't worry, we will provide the slides to everyone today. So that link will be available.
Yes.
Back to you.
Yeah, and if you are into tech and you want to know more, you can actually go into your local public library and ask to borrow a plug-in power meter, where you can check how much electricity is being used at the exact same time of the appliance. So what happens is that you have a small device which you plug your appliance into it, and then you plug it into the power point, and it will show you how many kilowatt hours that appliance is consuming from the grid at the moment. And some other tips that can help in reducing energy costs and saving a little bit of energy is maybe trying to think whether do you really need to use hot water when you do the laundry. So for instance, if you don't have any health condition that may require hot water for disinfection purposes, then maybe just using cold water or warm water would do just fine, and you can save a lot on the gas costs for that. Or you can actually use close gaps and cracks around the house to save around $50 a year, just because you will be stopping the air from escaping. During the summer, you can close the curtains and the blinds to avoid the heat gain. You can actually have those fabric door snakes to stop the draughts in the doors, which are very, very useful. Maybe you can try and think about swapping your dryer for a clothesline and stop using the dryer a bit. Or if you like to cook a lot and you use a lot of the oven, maybe it's time that you can actually use a little bit more of the microwave or the barbecue, the grill, because it requires less time to heat to the temperature that you need.
There's
and also,
oh, sorry, you finish, Caroline.
No, I was just saying that here are some other free ways that you can actually check the websites to see how other tips on saving energy. And the idea is that we try and reduce the energy use healthily, like safely, not in a way that will harm our health or well-being.
Yeah, that's the point I was going to touch on. So there's 6 safe tips that will save you more money than living in candlelight or showering much less and eating much less will do. So much rather, so not only are these sort of easier and less impact on your health, but they're more efficient also, aren't they?
Yeah. And as we were speaking about all the things related to the home, for example, the use of the door snake and closing the gaps, just like we have for appliances, when we have the star rating, and you know that if you have a washing machine of 1 star, you know that it's not very efficient. We also have it for our houses. So unfortunately, Australia is a very slow adopter of energy efficiency requirements for residential buildings, and much of our existing older residential stock is around 2 stars or less in a scale of 10. So I bring you here this comparative table, whether you can see how much it costs to heat or cool your home per year, per square meter, in a 2-star rated home and a 10-star rated home. And why do I bring this? Because I would say that if you have the capital, if you can afford, and if you have the capability to do an energy efficient retrofit, this could do wonders for your energy bills. It would be the case of spending 15 cents per square meter per year, instead of maybe spending $42 or even $74 per year if you live in a poor energy efficient home. Yeah. And finally, now that we have covered most of the things related on how to understand the bills and how to use energy efficiently, the last thing that we wanted to talk about is about how to pay your bills. So there are many different ways of paying your energy bills, and you can actually find a convenient way to pay that suits your budget. So we are very much used to receiving our electricity and our gas bills every 3 months, right? But many retailers offer the possibility of sending you monthly bills. So say, for example, if you have a quarter bill of $300, you could actually be asking your retailer to receive monthly bills of around $100. And this could fit your budget much better than having to prepare for a $300 bill in one fortnight. The same thing you can do is also set a regularly deducted payment plan to avoid a big quarterly bill through CentralPay. So if you are receiving the pension, you can the CentralPay service is available to make regular payments towards your energy bills and other services as well. So what you do is that every day every fortnight when you receive your pension, you set up an amount. You can maybe set up, $25 or $30 will be deducted from your pension and will go straight towards the energy retailer to create a credit in your energy bill. And in the end, if you are experiencing difficulties or if you are struggling to pay your energy bills, you can ring your energy company to ask for help and ask for a payment plan. By law, they must offer you a plan to pay off your bill in a way that you can afford to do it. So don't be ashamed of asking for help. Maybe there are, although we don't cover in this presentation, but there are EPA vouchers available from the NSW government in many charity providers, which are $50 vouchers that you can use towards your energy bills if you are experiencing difficulties. And I guess one thing that I would like to say is that, yes, don't feel ashamed, don't feel the stigma, actually ask for help before it's too late.
Yeah, you're right. Every energy retailer company has a hardship team that is purely there to help people who are struggling to pay bills. So rather than living in the dark and not cooking, you should reach out for help before you get to that point. I think what we've been touching on throughout the today's webinar as well is that there's this this power imbalance between energy retailers and consumers. They're perceived as the people who can turn the lights off, but actually if you reach out and like you said, want to change the way you're billed, they might actually do that for you, and that
yes.
So by reaching out, you can find yourself in a better situation.
Much better situation. Yes, you're absolutely right. So in summary, what we have covered in this presentation is about how to check your charges and understand your energy bills, how to make sure you are on a good and fair deal, most of all, because as we've seen, many of the deals that sometimes we are in, if we have been loyal and have not negotiated, are actually unfair deals. How to make sure you are receiving the rebates you are eligible to, how to use the energy efficiently and safely, and how to find a way to pay the bills that actually suits your budget and fits your lifestyle as well. So I would just like to finish by bringing this very useful quota webinar. The Council on the Aging last year organized a webinar on managing energy costs, and it's a very informative one as well. So it actually complements everything that we have been talking in this one. So feel free when you receive this presentation to check this webinar. And thanks again for your time. If you have any questions, we are more than happy to answer those. And if you'd like to participate in my research, so if you are experiencing difficulties with energy bills, or if you'd like to talk more about it, feel free to send me an email and I would be more than happy to expand on the research and talk to you about that. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you, Caroline. That's a great presentation. And for everyone watching, you'll notice that there's a poll has popped up. So we'd just like a bit of feedback to let us know if you think the webinar was helpful, if it needs improvement. And now is your time to ask a question of Caroline, if one comes to mind, or forever hold your peace. I don't see any coming in right now, so okay, I might wrap up, but I'd like to start by thanking everyone that's come along today, and thank you for your questions. And I hope you walk away feeling more informed and a little bit more confident when dealing with the energy market. I'd also, of course, like to give a huge thank you to you, Caroline. Thank you, Caroline, for all the work you put into this webinar and for the research you're conducting. CPSA thinks that the work you engage with is extremely important, and we're very excited to see the end result of your research and what it leads to.
Thank you very much. And for me, it's a pleasure, and it's very important that I do this type of activities where I can actually bring the practicalities of my research. So it would be of no use if I just had this information for myself, for my research. I want to bring it to the real world. So I really want to help people, and the CPSA is actually helping me do that. So I should be the one thanking you for that. Yeah.
It's been our pleasure. Okay. Well, that was all for today. Thank you for watching, and if you'd like to watch it again, it'll be on YouTube very shortly. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.